Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Hi, welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show. My name is Shelley Overton. I am an astrologer in Orlando, Florida. Today we're going to go over what's going on in the sky this week and also talk a little bit about politics, just a little. But let's get into it. We have Neptune at 20 degrees Pisces. We have Uranus at 12 Taurus opposite Mars and Mercury today. And the Sun is at 19 Scorpio. Mercury and Mars are at 9 and 8 respectively of Scorpio. We have a South Node at 1 degree Sagittarius retrograde and Venus at 5 degrees Capricorn. And we have Pluto 24 Capricorn, Saturn at 7 Aquarius. Moon is at 20 Aquarius, joined up with Jupiter at 23 Aquarius. That brings us back around to Neptune. So what's going on today? I'm going to just take a quick peek here. Today is 11/11. And if you ever expand your spiritual awareness, a lot of times you'll see 11/11 because it is the angel number that says the angels are with you. And it's really one of the first numbers I got when I had kind of a secondary spiritual awakening. I started practicing Buddhism in 2000. Oh gosh, what was it? It was 2000, it was 1987. And I definitely had kind of a spiritual glow up, so to speak. And then around the time I moved to Knoxville, which was 2001, I started seeing 11/11 all the time. And I would stay awake to see late night TV. And I'd always glance over at 11/11. My address was 11/11. A friend's address was 11/11. And so it just really kind of came full force into my awareness around that time. And then over the years, I have increased my spiritual understanding, starting with like Reiki and angels and, just getting more into astrology. Anyway, today is 11/11, and it is a good day to really figure out what it is you want. The veil between our world and the afterlife is thinner today, and it is an observation of veterans today. My grandfather was a veteran. He and many aunts and uncles and cousins are veterans, but my grandfather was in World War II. He was a navigation pilot. Well, how do you put it? Navigator. That's the word. He was a navigator on airplanes in the Pacific theater. Back in the day in the 40s, he was gone for the first 5 years of my dad's life. And so it was a pretty significant thing in my dad's world for sure, but obviously in the world since then, having that event, I think a lot about it. I think a lot about it and what it means and what it meant. And I became Buddhist out of a desire for a peaceful existence. And so I try to focus on the peace. And of course, being a Scorpio rising with Neptune in the first house and Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, up next to my sun, next to Uranus, having a peaceful existence is practically non-existent on a consistent basis. But I do focus towards that goal. And I think that today is a really good day to observe the beauty of a peaceful mindset and to really try to decide what you can do in your world to express peace and to expand peace and remember those who have died on behalf of peace and the rights of others. So anyway, we're going to move on here. Today is Scorpio, Mars, Mercury, and Sun. So we are still in the season of Scorpio. It is an energy that makes us aware of how we can problem solve. And I'm going to tell you, it has not been an easy week for me. My daughter was sick a good 4 days. She's finally over it today. And, so it's always, now that we're in pandemic times, it's a time of trying to stay healthy and safe. And having someone in your family sick, and it wasn't COVID, she tested for that, got an over the counter test, and it was negative, thankfully. But I think it was actually a stomach virus because it's been really intestinal for her. And so that is a Mercury and Scorpio kind of thing, because Mercury rules the intestines and it is the ruler of Gemini and Virgo. Virgo is all about the digestive system. I think a lot of times Gemini also is kind of excessively aware of the intestines and body processes. But Scorpio rules the reproductive organs, which are down in near the intestines. So having Mercury in Scorpio, and Scorpio being an energy that can make us more aware of deeper things going on. Definitely, I'm a believer in the connection between the body and the mind and the spirit. And so when we see health issues, I am the first to look to what that is an expression of. And then right after that, with my cluster of Virgo planets next to Uranus, I look for the holistic health solutions. And so, today and this season of Scorpio is a really excellent time, and especially because it's opposite Uranus and Taurus, which rules the body. It rules our value, physicality, the material world, opposite this intensity of Scorpio in Mars in Scorpio, particularly intense, because Scorpio in and of itself is willing to burn things to the ground to get a point across. And Mars is taking action wherever he falls. He wants a fight. He feels alive when he's fighting, when he's taking action. And because Scorpio will seek out a hidden agenda, Mars is looking for the hidden agenda. Mars is actively seeking out solutions, but also what is not readily available. So Scorpio is a fabulous sign for the researcher. And I know some people, I know a young woman in particular who is a friend of my daughter's, who's in the medical field, and she wants to do research. That's kind of her area of the medical field. So having Scorpio planets or a transit of Scorpio will bring us more aware of that type of thing, but also surgery, which is covered under Scorpio, and surgeons, legalities, the law, what's going on. I know there is an online court, social media presence at a court case, Rittenhouse, and I know that the judge is giving a difficult time to the prosecutors in that scenario. So we've got kind of Mars's men, judicial systems are Scorpio, and it's kind of like wherever Mars is, he can be somewhat full of himself in how he perceives it, especially right next to Mercury. So that means all of us as well are associating this energy of ideas with Mercury and taking action. Now, today, Mars isn't quite on Mercury, but that's coming up pretty quickly. It happens, actually, I guess it just passed, my bad. Yeah, hang on a second. This says the 10th, there's a conjunction between Mercury and Mars, which would put, Mercury, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here thinking Mars goes faster than Mercury for some reason. Because of that action drive, Mercury is actually faster than Mars. So he's past it. Yeah, and I in my mind, the way I think of things, I have the sun and the planets circling the sun in larger and larger concentric orbs. And so for me in my mind, I'm thinking, well, Mercury is it's quicker from our perspective on Earth, but I think of it, okay, Mercury's first, Mars is outside of Mercury, so he's farther away, so he should be after him in the chart. But it was the opposite because Mercury's faster, so he zoomed right over Mars as of yesterday. And so there is this incredible energy around masculine, kind of the energy of wanting to blow things up, wanting to burn it to the ground for the purpose of ideas and ideology. So Mercury now past Mars means that the ideas have moved on. We had that clash, and I know that there's been a clash also in America in politics and the government over passing bills, over what's going on with the insurrection and research and investigations going on with the insurrection here that happened in January. And so having all these planets in Scorpio right now are triggering what's going on with the law, with the judicial system, and the research and seeking out more knowledge and information. So as Mercury gets through the sign and finds his way to the end of the sign, which is Scorpio, Sagittarius, he will be very ready to express everything that he has found out. And when does that happen? That happens on the 25th of November, right before Thanksgiving. This is my guess. Thanksgiving is going to be a week when people are out of work, going home, they're taking time with family, they're not going to be in the office. That also means that the news cycle is probably going to ramp up because the information that has been found out now is going to really make its way to the mass media come the time Mercury moves out of Scorpio. And that's right on the 25th. And that's the week before Thanksgiving here in America. So, you know, the information is going to drop when everybody goes home. And so, you know, kind of the idea that if we drop it when nobody's really paying attention, people are on their families, people have a holiday, it'll be swept under the rug. But I can tell you with Saturn, and today, Moon is in Aquarius, 3 degrees away from Jupiter. We'll be crossing over Jupiter later today. We've got Saturn, Moon, Jupiter, and Aquarius. Information's out there. It is not going to be forgotten. It will have legs, so to speak. It's going to be out in the mass public. But Venus is in Capricorn, which is also another interesting thing going on. So Venus is the feminine energy, the goddess of love and beauty. And she rules the material world, you know, the physicality of the material world, so fashion and retail, and money, stocks, all that. But she's in positive aspect to Mars and Mercury, although they have moved beyond an exact sextile to her, or 60 degrees. She is still in positive aspect by or, meaning 8 degrees on either side of an exact aspect. And in Capricorn, Venus gets very real. She gets very literal. She wants things to be really down to earth. I just looked at the clock. It's November 11th at 12:34, which is one of my numbers. It's kind of funny. We were talking a little numerology, but yeah, 12:34 for those of you who see that number. I've interpreted it, because I've been seeing it for about 5 years now, as take the due process of what has to be done. And in the context of what I'm talking about, it's a very valid number. Scorpio goes through and really tries to find the logical solutions. And then Venus in Capricorn, she wants to know the exact literal interpretation. And she can be extremely dogmatic, though, when not seeing, the sign of Capricorn really can be very dogmatic. And any planet that goes through there, when literal presentations are not made, she doesn't like that. And Capricorn doesn't like that. So when Venus goes through Capricorn, she expresses this earthy energy, this earthy knowledge about what is going on in the material world, the physical world, and it has to be literal. She has a very strong love of things that have structure and systems and organization. So when Venus is in this sign, she gives us a love and desire to see that which is literal and true and factual. That being said, she is also in sextile to Scorpio, which is pretty strong fixed sign and doesn't like things. Well, let's put it this way. They go to the ends of the earth for an idea, for an ideology. And if it doesn't work, and it's usually very truth based, Scorpio seeks out, and I know people may disagree, but I feel this because I have very personal connections. Scorpio is a justice seeker. And part of that is because it's the sign after Libra, the sign of scales. So you've got the balance of justice. And then Scorpio is the house that will take on the burden of the justice and take the action towards it. So Mars in that sign is going to seek out the truth behind the scenes. Mercury is wanting to understand or have cognizance of what truly is going on. And then the sun ties the ego to those ideas. And so the sun here in Scorpio, I know I kind of derail a little bit on my Venus, but I will get back to her. Sun in Scorpio ties us in our ego very strongly to what the truth is. And I can tell you this week, living in a household that watches Fox News constantly, and I have radically differing views. It's been a difficult challenge to go by the information, in quotes, coming out of that channel and seeing its effect on my very susceptible parents to dogma and old structures and systems. And I find that right now in particular, especially with Neptune and Pisces, we're seeing a lot of ideology and dogma attached to conspiracy theories. And, it's interesting because I think anybody can be susceptible to that. If you take an idea, an idealized version of a thought, and say, this is what it should be, and then you don't hear anything else that derails that, you get into a tunnel, you get into an echo chamber of ideas. And Saturn and Aquarius, Jupiter and Aquarius are all about the expansion of ideas, expansion of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And so Saturn is no longer digging in and saying, no, we can't do this because this is the way it should be. He's on board with the Aquarian ideology now, but Pluto and Venus are very strongly enmeshed in that dogma. And, Capricorn is wonderful for the energy of being able to systematize and clean house. And honestly, that's what has been going on with Pluto through Capricorn, is really bringing the ideas that were hidden and up to the surface so we can clear them out. And I do believe that's what's really happening, but it looks like the world's getting worse. The world isn't getting worse. The hidden has now surfaced. And so all the things that were already here are up at the top, up on the surface for us to really sweep away. So currently with Venus at 5 Capricorn, and she just sextile that Mercury Mars conjunction, it is a very strong and feminine energy. We've got Scorpio is a feminine sign, Capricorn is a feminine sign. Mars is a masculine planet, and Mercury is a neutral, gender neutral, androgynous planet. And then Venus is, of course, very feminine. So this says that the feminine energy has been working with masculine energy and the ideas to come to terms with what's going on. And I think that's really why we were able to pass this huge budget. And so we see that energy is going to be dissipating a bit as Mercury and Mars continue on forward. Venus will probably take over Mars fairly soon. I don't have that date exact here in my research. Yeah, I don't see any Venus sextiles or any Venus aspects in the next coming couple of weeks. There's a square to Chiron next week, but anyway, yeah, she's not sextiling the Scorpio energy at all. And so we are still in that energy though, as she moves forward, because she will be, if you have planets in Scorpio between 5 degrees and 24 degrees for the next month, she will be triggering a sextile with all the Scorpio planets. She's also triggering a sextile with Pisces planets. And that means that by the time she hits late degrees of Capricorn, She will be right on Pluto, and she will be sextile to Neptune, which right now Pluto and Neptune are sextile in the sky. And so there is also that added benefit of a water earth energy, very strong one. Neptune is the ruler of the oceans, the ruler of water, plumbing, floods, flooding, ideas, psychic awareness, spirituality, and wise people. And it is also a retirement energy. It can include transition of this life to the next, because there is a connection spiritually with Neptune to the other side. They are a very psychic sign. Pluto in Capricorn, it's interesting because Pluto is very in tune with the emotions, but in Capricorn, he has to make the connection between emotions and logic. It is a sign where Pluto needs to have the facts. So we're seeing that. We've got the sun coming up on an exact sextile to Pluto this week, and that will mean that there is an ego connection involved with the positive forward motion of information. And so I honestly look forward to that, because right after that, the sun moves farther into the sign of Scorpio, which is really my area of the sky where we find out more about fraudulent behavior. And so by the time these planets, Mercury, Mars, and Sun, come to the end of their time in Scorpio, being in sextile to Pluto and also being in square to, well, Jupiter, I think that they're going to probably square Jupiter. I don't think Jupiter will be in Pisces by then. Let me look it up for you real quick. Yeah, they'll sextile around the 18th, 19th, which is a pretty big day, astrologically, November 18th. And 19th is really when there's a movement forward as we see Sun about to move into Sagittarius. So Sagittarius gives the information. Like I said, when you put Scorpio on the first house, Sagittarius becomes the second. When you put Libra on the first house, Scorpio becomes the second. So the second house is the materialization of the energy found out in the first. So if we're finding out information about balance and justice and partnerships, that would be Libra on the horizon. Scorpio will make it manifest. When Scorpio goes to the first, then Sagittarius moves to the second and takes care of what goes on. So if you think about Scorpio being, with all these planets being in the first house, Sagittarius will be the manifestation, the physical materiality of what we found out during Scorpio. So look for the end of this month to be very raucous. Lost my earbuds there for a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, we're moving into a time of Sagittarian energy, which is going to be calling it like we see it and really expressing the information that's being really can be presented now, but mostly researched. This is going on behind the scenes. Yeah. And so anyway, as we have this transition into Sagittarius later on this month, I'll tell you what date that is. That is right after the full moon in Taurus, which is the 19th. Then the sun enters Sagittarius at 9:34 p.m. on Sunday, the 21st. So yeah, the moon in Aquarius is really awakening that need to be free, need to be independent, autonomous, don't tell me what to do. And as she goes into Pisces later on this evening, she's going to be really down, possibly down in the dumps, but down in the ethers and the watery emotional world. We've got moon entering, actually overnight moon enters on Friday at 2:54 a.m. in the Eastern time zone and 11:54 p.m. Thursday night in the Pacific. Yes, sorry. And then immediately after, the sun trines Neptune at 11:24 a.m. tomorrow. And so that is a supercharged emotional time. Every time I see Scorpio and Neptune together, or Scorpio and Pisces, there is a strong energy of endings, and it can be really sad, and we want to just hole up in our homes and not think about things. So just check on your family members and your friends and know that it's a good time to really connect to them and show them that you care and that you're there. And then right after that, we've got Venus sextile the moon in conjunctive Chiron to Mars. That could be difficult because Chiron and Mars, or Mars is the ruler of Aries and Chiron's in Aries. So it's going to mean there is a war mindset, a battle mindset, and it can mean that the masculine energy is giving us a wounding for us to understand within our own lives. Moon trines Mars at 7:28 p.m. Eastern, and then Moon trines Mercury overnight into the morning at 12:23 a.m. Saturday, and then a Moon trine to Mercury and a Moon sextile Uranus, which is very emotional, and again, a potential for death and transition on Friday. Saturday is going to be more explosive and emo because of Mercury opposition to Uranus. Uranus is chemicals. Mercury, of course, is a very volatile energy, and Uranus is the ramping up or the increased vibration of that same energy. So when you have Scorpio, which is the hidden, which is plutonic and explosive, joining with chemicals, which is Uranus, I would say there's a chance for a chemical explosion, fire, or accident on Saturday. And, I really tried to get away from more of the darker predictions, but I'm a Scorpio rising, and it honestly is probably one of my talents with astrology is seeing the contrast in the energy as it meets with that friction. And so I think that I'm just going to let you know that there is a strong possibility of something happening there. It could involve oil, or there could be another event, another incident involving oil. We've got the moon joined up with Neptune. So, of course, that the tides will be higher on Saturday. The oceans and the oil, the water in our body, we're going to be more emo because the water in our body is going to be more pressurized from that focused energy in the sky. Oh, and I have to tell you, I don't know, this just popped in because I like to look at the heavens. I like to look at the astronomy of the evening, and Venus has been particularly beautiful right next to the moon this week. And now she's still very bright up in the sky, but the moon has moved farther down and goes down a lot quicker. Here in Orlando, when I look at the sky, it's down more. But last night, I live right in the middle of the state, but I heard this ongoing rumbling, and I live about 20 miles from the airport. And so you hear planes all the time, but this was a very low rumble and an ongoing rumble. And I live close to a road also that gets some traffic. But I'm like, oh my gosh, is there a rocket going off? Because when Cape Canaveral sends off rockets and used to be space shuttles, you would hear it a little bit from there. But I am telling you, that rocket was rumbling this whole area. And I looked out the window, I'm like, is there a rocket out there? I didn't go outside. It was drizzling. I didn't want to get wet, but I didn't go outside. But I did see the clouds kind of light up, and there wasn't a definitive globe. But then this morning I found out there was indeed a SpaceX rocket going off last night. So we were able to hear it. We're about 40 miles from the coast from where they send them off. So I was able to hear the SpaceX go off from here. And I honestly, obviously I love planets, but I really do love them in the physical world as well. And I love to watch the sky. And this week I even was able to donate my old telescope to my daughter's boyfriend. And so that also came up. If you have been feeling this Aquarian energy, it can manifest in astronomy and science, engineering, all of those things, but also technology associated with robotics or long distance communications. So phone systems, technology, anything that's really tech based is very happy in the Aquarian energy. And I don't know if I've told you this recently. My son was going and is still going to secondary school, post-secondary, I guess. I don't know what it is. He went to college, he got his degree in finance, decided he didn't want to do finance, and is trying to get certified as an aviation mechanic. But then he realized that that probably wasn't as fulfilling as he had thought as well. And now he's going back to school for engineering. So he is pursuing an engineering degree, which is really awesome for him because he has an Aquarius rising, and there's a strong association with aviation and mechanics and technology with that Aquarius energy. I also want to say, and I think I've said it in the past, but I'll say it again, that there is an eye connection to Aquarius. It's clear seeing and vision. So people who have first house Aquarius, especially on the horizon, especially on the rising sign, if you have planets right there on the rising sign in Aquarius, you have a potential for eye issues or a strong possibility of adoption. My son was not adopted. He was just super early and a preemie, but there was a separation with him for about 5 weeks while he was in NICU. So yeah, that can bring the unexpected. And especially like if your chart is based on an Aquarius rising, that means you were born under Aquarius as the horizon, and that means the unexpected. So you have that imprinted into your chart and into your life. And so all your life, you will have these high vibrating thoughts, these tech thoughts, or even a connection to spirituality that is more about channeling understanding. So it's claircognizance. And yeah, so that's the Aquarian energy. And Saturn there means your career and life purpose is absorbed in the Aquarian energy, which can also express through environmentalism and community, especially very strongly about community and finding the people that resonate to your life purpose. Because when you put Capricorn on the first house of identity, you put Aquarius on the second house of money. When you have Capricorn in a natural chart on the midheaven for career, you have Aquarius ruling the technology, community, environmentalism, and people from networking people from your career. So you have all these connected energies that will help you manifest money through entrepreneurship, which is that independent connection to Aquarius. Okay, I'm going to stop with this line of discussion because I really do want to talk a little bit more about some charts, and give me a second to just switch over. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Joe Biden on this podcast because he seems to be more in the news right now from what's going on with the passage of the infrastructure bill and what's going on with COP26 over in Europe about climate change. And so what is his chart all about? What is his thing? And he has a Sagittarius rising. And that means that he definitely has a strong affinity for people of other cultures and society that revolve around other cultures. He's got a Scorpio 12th house, so he is about the balance and the commitment to other people. He wants to partner. He wants to commit to the partnership. He's got Mercury at 21 Scorpio. He's got Sun at 27 Scorpio and Venus at 28 Scorpio. So having, got chills with that, having a late degree Venus past his Sun in Scorpio. Scorpio, like I said, is commitment. It's where you look for your marital spouse to commit to you, like where you're going to get married. Definitely the 7th house and the Libra energy is about marriage and partnership, but to follow through with it, that is the Scorpio energy. When you have the Sun at 27 and Venus just past it in the 12th house, like he does, he has the loss of women in his life, and he had the loss of a wife, I believe, and he also lost his son, and he has Mars at 12 degrees of Scorpio also in the 11th house though. And so he's got a lot of loss, and it's all, the 12th house Scorpio energy is major life change through the energy of Pluto transits. And also if you have planets in Scorpio, and of course the 80s and 90s were the decades and the generation of Pluto and Scorpio. So that was a really kind of, that was the grunge era, the alternative bands that were very dark, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, that darker energy from that era. So you see that in society, the Scorpionic energy. His birthday is the 20th of November. So the Sun being at 27 in his chart means that he's got a birthday coming up in about a week. And let's see 9 days. And so the Sun is at 19. It's coming up on his Mercury, which makes him very connected to a deeper understanding of people and situations, and his identity will express more thoroughly, and he'll be more accurate with what he's trying to come across as from his identity and ego. He's really expressing himself more clearly through his true nature right now. And then as Mercury comes into later degrees of Scorpio, again, he'll be in a Mercury return, which can also, I would say there should be caution around accidents, around hidden agendas. Definitely Scorpio in the 12th house can bring hidden agendas. Right now, they are in people he works with, the house of people he networks and works with. And so definitely being over at COP26, Mars and Mercury in Scorpio, really he is expressing a true nature, true who he is in the collective. What he is putting forth is a true and accurate expression of that. And then when we have the planets going to Sagittarius, that'll be his first house. Definitely all the Scorpio planets, including the sun, are very concerning for me. And then Venus, as she gets closer to Pluto at 24, and then a sextile to his natal sun, that can be really good because it shows more of a statesman type leadership, because Venus in Capricorn joined with Pluto is Capricorn energy of the statesman. And then Venus is the feminine energy getting expressed. So I think that he's going to be more aware of what he's saying around women's issues. And it can also mean there is some kind of transition. I do get, he's got a nickname I'm not going to repeat here, but I do find that he's kind of tired at the end of his life. He's kind of in the waning years of his life. And so I think having been through everything he's been through in the country, in his career with politics, and also in his personal life, it's got to wear on you. And when you have so much Scorpio, you definitely express that. And especially right now with Uranus leaving his fifth house in Taurus, it's going into his house of work. It's really about what he's bringing forth in new ideas and how he can change the structure of those new ideas and the value that we see in what's going on. So definitely technology, engineering is going to be part of what he wants to focus on in this particular presidency. He's got some stuff, again, he's got Uranus and Gemini, which means he's hyper aware of being of service, but he can be self-serving on the way to service, if that makes any sense. North Node is right on his Uranus, so there is a major shift that affects him that will also affect the collective, because it is a point of destiny, and that is right on his Uranus, which is the higher understanding and awareness and bringing forth the ideas, bringing forth teaching. It is transportation. So his whole house of work is a push towards transportation and some of the material world, but Uranus and Gemini is all about transportation and expansion of ideas around the technology associated with the transportation, but also ideas of space travel, anything tech, anything communicative, all of that, the internet, SpaceX, everything there is very heavily influencing his way of doing his work in his life at his job. He has Neptune in Libra up in the house of career, and Neptune, of course, is the idealized view of things. Up in Libra in career is about balance and bringing people together. And I do think because Uranus and Gemini is very, very social, and then Neptune in Libra, he idealizes the people and the connectedness between people. Gemini is not a very pleasant energy when it meets up with Scorpio, because they are in conjunct, so they're 150 degrees apart. And that means that his Mars is at opposition to his Uranus and Saturn. His Saturn is in partnership in the 7th house, so definitely his partner matters greatly with what he can accomplish. So Jill Biden means that she is there supporting his endeavors, and he can go farther with that. And Yeah, so Saturn in Gemini means he's dualistic. I mean, we don't necessarily see it, but his marriage is definitely seen as part of his career life to him. He is that generation. It's the Pluto in Leo generation where I see Donna Reed and the whole idealized pearl necklace thing going on. And he has Pluto and Leo in the last degrees of his house of commitment. So he is kind of that generation where the whole Donna Reed, husband comes home and the wife supports him kind of ideal. That being said, yes, his wife is very much her own person. And I think the Gemini energy can bring the ability to walk both sides of that line, having the woman supporting him in the home environment, but also having the wife who's her own person, especially with Uranus within 1 degree. It's 1 degree away from his marriage house. So he needs something that's unusual and partnering or duality because of the Gemini. So there's really strong entrepreneurial energy in his chart as well with a partner or with being very social. Okay, and he's really good with money. I mean, you maybe not think that, but I can tell you, he's got Taurus in the house of work, which rules the money, and he's got that Gemini energy, which is the manifestation of the ideas that came through from Taurus. So as Uranus comes back to a Uranus return in his chart, I think that hits around 84 years old for him. He will, barring complications, health issues or anything, he will have this amazing entrepreneurial spirit that comes out with how he promotes small business in his White House time and White House years. Okay, so let me see if there's anything else I want to say. Oh yeah, his inaugural, how the inauguration factors into his chart. It was a very heavy Capricorn Aquarius inauguration, and all of that energy fell in his second house of money and love and partnering. So making a couple or growing something out of being in a loving relationship, but also finances and money and economy are very heavily played on in this chart. And that is a very strong push for his presidency because he has Venus at 15 Capricorn. These are all the transits on inauguration day. Venus at 15 Capricorn, Pluto at 24 Capricorn, midheaven at 26 Capricorn. If you reverse the charts, the midheaven would be Capricorn. In his natal chart, those planets fall into his second house. And then the sun at 0 degrees Aquarius, which is always the day inauguration has 0 degrees sun in Aquarius, so the collective. Saturn at 3 degrees Aquarius and Jupiter at 7 Aquarius. So there is a very strong, almost destined energy about this chart. And then Mercury is at 18 Aquarius in the third house. So again, even in the inauguration chart, Mercury at 18 in his third house is again a very strong energy around technology, around communications and broadcasting, and having the ability to get out ideas to the masses. So that's a really huge part of his chart. Also on the inauguration day was Moon at 29 degrees of Aries, which is where the moon's is it where it is? No, I'm sorry. I thought that I'm getting a little confused between charts. I've seen so many charts. Anyway, no, I looked at this chart earlier. So a 29-degree Aries, it's a new energy for the Aries, but it's the last degree, which means there is a possibility that it will not be a full term, which may please some people, doesn't necessarily please me, but having that ending with an initiating energy right next to his moon. So in other words, he was born with a 0 degree Taurus moon at 0 degrees and 59 minutes. And then the moon on the inauguration was 2903, literally 1 degree off, but within a minute of astrological time of going into the next sign of Taurus, which is where his moon natally is. So the time that the inauguration started, I've got it for noon on the 20th of January this year. It's an interesting chart that started because I was looking at the time. I want to say, I was pretty sure I put down the time that it actually started. It was like 12:04. there may have been closer to an exact moon on his natal moon. But it means that he really does love his country, and he really, because we are a moon ruled country, and a moon conjunction to his natal chart is a very deep love of that country. And Taurus moon in his natal chart in the 5th house is he wants to grow friendships. He's very good at those relationships with people, as we have seen throughout his career. Pluto and Leo, again, they need to relate. They are relators. Yeah, so anyway, I wanted to just take a quick look at his chart and see what I see. Let's see, is there anything? He's got a moon Jupiter conjunction today, unexpected. There are some unexpected transformations or transitions around home, possibly something going on with his health or with his body, and something going on with the mind. There's definitely the clarity of the sign, but also it rules neurology. And so he just has to watch out for things that could affect neurology or the nervous system. So I think that's all I'm going to do about that situation and that particular thing. So, okay, anyway, it was good talking to you. It's 1:10, which is 11:11. I've got November 11th, 1:10, which is about to be 1:11 p.m. I wanted to do this podcast at 11:11, but my daughter came over, and so I wasn't able to do it just then. Anyway, I hope you have a good week. Let me see if there's anything else. I always do this. I wrap up and then I want to look over if there's anything we need to be aware of. Definitely Saturday the 13th, there's going to be some hypermasculine issues around the 14th, which could also mean some aggression and violence on that day. Monday is the square between Venus and Chiron and Moon and Venus. We've got an inconjunct between the Moon and Mars. So Monday the 15th, there is definitely a more emotional death embracing energy, or I shouldn't say embracing, but definitely potential for transition and transformation around ideas, around what we know to be true. And then the sun sextiles Pluto on Tuesday, which is a good day for making deeper truths, making things more emotional or digging deeper. Monday is a good day for deeper truths and digging deep, and then also helping things to grow. Wednesday is a clash of values as we see Mars opposite Uranus. That's going to be pretty pronounced because the moon is also there later in the evening. Thursday of next week, getting control of your mindset, your moods, your dogma is being challenged. Next week is the full moon. I'm just going to give a teaser for that because I will go over it next week's podcast, but sometimes that doesn't get out to you until the day of the moon. So I'm going to tell you even more so the dogma is challenged. Full moon at 27 degrees Taurus is going to be the end of a material good. You might end up having to buy something that you didn't want to have to buy or replace something you didn't want to have to replace, but it is a material good seeing the end of its life. And it could also be a shift and change around your finances, like you may end a bank account or a stock or something along those lines. It is a harvest time and then finishing of a growth cycle. It is around love and personal value of how you personally see yourself and your own value. So, if you're doing any kind of new moon ritual, full moon release, the full moon release is going to be about material goods, about potential love release because it is Venus, and harvesting your foods. It is a good harvest day because when the moon is full, that's the end of a cycle, and that's when we need to take off what we've grown. Anyway, so we will talk to you more next week. Just know that Mars in Scorpio can be pretty aggressive and willing to burn it to the ground for the idea and dogma of what they believe. So anyway, that being said, have some quiet time. Scorpio is really good about immersing in sensation. So, do some sensationally immersive things this week. We'll see you next week. Take care. Share the podcast, like, subscribe, and comment below if you are on YouTube. And thanks again for joining me. Good to see you, Amazon people. I got on Amazon podcast this week, so I'm very excited to see you. Take care. Write a comment. Bye. And that brings us back around to Neptune. Neptune.
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Music provided on show-by-show basis will be credited within the body of the show. For more info on my art, go to shelleyoverton.com. That's SHELLEYOVERTON.com. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com, including discounts. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at AstroEnergy Astrology Show.